Greetings, and welcome to the Bowling Green First United Methodist Church. We hope that you enjoy what you're about to see, and you can find us on the corner of Broadway and Church Streets at 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. Or you can find us at bgmethodist.org and on Facebook at Bowling Green First United Methodist Church. So we are, there's a phrase that I use on that describes some things. Have you ever used the phrase that comes out of left field? And looking at it, I started kind of looking up where it came from. And the good news is that there's lots of different origin theories about where that phrase comes from. And one of those makes Cubs fans look bad. And so I figured that's always a good thing. If we can do that, I'm always okay with that. It'd be better if we could tie the Yankees into that also, but that's a little far to get Chicago and New York all together in one place. But we use that phrase though in a little bit different sort of way. We use it to say something comes out of left field if it's kind of unexpected or surprising, or maybe we just aren't ready for it. We think that something is gone and past and done, but yet it still comes back to get us. In fact, coming out of left field sometimes can look a little bit like this.
3 balls and a strike to count to Brent Johnson. 1 out, top of the 7th inning. Fresno 2, Tacoma 1. Santos in a jam. Johnson his first year at AAA. From the city deal, cuts one out and deep down the left field line toward the corner, and this ball is going to be. Oh, it's caught! It's not Jake Wall. That's the ball girl. Jake Wall in left field. Can't believe it. And look, she shows him up. She just sort of tosses him the ball. Said, take that, Jake. I don't see you making the effort. Alfonso, the catcher, he can't believe it. Let's look at that replay. Oh my, what an amazing play. And now look at her sitting there saying, no big deal, Michael.
Yeah, first time I saw that, I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times before I realized, no, she really did do that thing that just makes my knees hurt thinking about it. But sometimes that's where things come from. They kind of come out of left field. You are not expecting the ball girl to climb up the side of the wall to catch the ball. That just is not in our set of expectations. In a lot of ways, though, we can say that a lot of times we are defined more by the unexpected things that happen to us in life than the expected things. Because those are the ones that either give us the greatest opportunity, or those are the ones that give us the greatest amount of struggle. It's those unexpected things that we aren't prepared for. But that's not something that is unique to us. That is something we see take place in lots of different places and lots of different times, and it's that unexpected thing that God uses so often throughout the Old Testament, and especially then when we get into the Gospels. He is using unexpected people and unexpected places to do things. We can say Noah was kind of an unexpected person, but really Abraham is kind of our first big unexpected person who is called out of his hometown where he was doing fairly well for himself and for his family, and God says, go to this land over here, and I'm going to make a great nation out of you. And then we see the next unexpected thing happen, which is literally the miracle child and his son Isaac, who he didn't ever expect to have any children, and yet here is this child of the promise that God makes to Abraham, who is born. And then we go down another couple of generations and we get to Jacob, who is, who has a son named Joseph. Joseph, who is sold into slavery, and normally that would be the last we would hear of him, except that all of a sudden he ends up in a great position of power so that he can save his family when they come in the midst of famine. We go down even, a number of generations past that, and we get to Moses. Moses, who was a great public leader, but had a fear of speaking in public. He would never make it out of our primaries today because of that, and yet here he is the one called by God to go and lead the people out of slavery in Egypt. And we keep going. We go down from that. We get to the first king of Israel, and David, who played the harp, was a shepherd. Probably should never have been known outside of his family and his hometown, and yet becomes the greatest king over Israel. And we can keep telling that story over and over again. God uses unexpected people to do great things. One of those folks that God uses, I put up here little m, because we can say he is a Messiah. And when we say it this way, we're using little m because it's not a title we're giving him, but it is a role that he is filling. That he is going to do great things for Israel, but he is an unexpected person that is going to do this. The unexpected Messiah in this case is Cyrus, who is the king of Persia, of all places, the Persian Empire who came in and conquered the Babylonians who sent Israel into exile to begin with. And Cyrus is the one who is named by God to go and to let Israel return back home, to go back to Jerusalem, to rebuild the temple. It is Cyrus who acts in this role, as Messiah. We read about it in Isaiah. Isaiah tells us, he says, "The Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, whom I have grasped by the strong hand to conquer nations before him, disarming kings and opening doors before him, so no gates will be shut." God uses this unexpected person to do his work. The natural question that comes from this, though, is how in the world does a non-Jew like Cyrus, who not only is not Jewish, has no desire to become Jewish, how is it that Cyrus is the one who is named to this role? Why is it him? Cyrus is unexpected. But Israel needed a king. Israel needed someone with power and authority who could tell them that it was time for them to go home and give them the ability to do that. Israel was looking for a king, but God had some other plans that were working here, and so he says, well, I'm going to use Cyrus instead. He is going to be the one who is going to send my people home. He's going to fill that expected role of king and of leader for them. But he just is not going to be like them. He's going to be an unexpected person to do it. But God is setting Israel up, making them ready to understand that things are going to be different. Yes, he gave them someone to fill that expected role, but reminding them that God works in unexpected ways, because it's when we get a little bit farther down the road that God then does the next thing. And that this is the time where he sends, the big M Messiah. There's someone who doesn't just fill the role of Messiah, but takes on that title. That actually becomes the one who defines what it means to be the Messiah. And we see this, and Israel has to be ready for it. Because the person that God sends is his son, Jesus, and he sends him to go and to rock the world of the Jews, because he's going to upset everything that they thought that they knew. Now, it was expected that the Messiah would be Jewish. So Jesus fills that expected role in there, but that is where his expectations end. Even coming from Nazareth, they were okay with that because Jesus was Jewish. They were used to having their leaders come from very kind of strange and different places that you wouldn't expect a leader to come from. So they were okay with that. But it's what Jesus does that begins to shake them, that shakes them out of their foundations. Jesus begins preaching things that the religious leaders of the time didn't really understand. They didn't, or they understood but they didn't like, and so they were naturally fighting against Jesus with the message that he was preaching. And he was reaching out to the sinners that were around him, or the undesirables that were in their society at the time. And for most of the religious leaders and a lot of other folks, those were the same people. If you were an undesirable, you were obviously a sinner. And if you were a sinner, well, you were obviously an undesirable person to be around. And yet these are the people that Jesus is reaching out to. He was showing compassion and respect and care for the prostitutes and tax collectors and Samaritans, and he even showed compassion and respect and care for one large group of people that none of the other religious leaders at the time would. He was showing that respect and care and compassion to women of all people. These were all groups of people that you just didn't do those things for. You didn't do that kind of thing. These were not things that anyone was expecting. Yet this was who Jesus was reaching out to. And then Jesus comes into the city of Jerusalem. During his ministry, as Luke tells the story in his gospel, during his ministry, Jesus only ever goes to Jerusalem once. This is when he is an adult, and he goes into the city at the start of what we call Holy Week now, on that first Palm Sunday. And this is the beginning of the end of the story, or it's the beginning of that last build towards the climax of the story that Jesus is starting. And Jesus goes in there, not riding on a white horse going into the city that he has conquered, but riding a donkey with a bunch of palm branches and other things that people are putting out on the road. Jesus is again doing the unexpected thing. And this was disturbing to a great many people. In fact, even the Pharisees, there we go. The Pharisees had trouble with this. Luke writes this in our last two verses for this morning. Some of the Pharisees from the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, scold your disciples. Tell them to stop." But he answered them, he said, "I tell you, if they were silent, the stones would shout." This is one of my favorite parts of the Palm Sunday story, that Jesus had this much authority and control and ability in this situation, that here they are coming up to him saying, "You can't do these things," and he's saying, "No, I will do what I want to do because this is what needs to be done." This was the beginning of that final step for the incredible changes that Jesus was going to bring. You can hear a little bit more of what that may have been like here.
Steal that donkey, okay? I borrowed it. And it wasn't even my idea. Jesus told me to take it, to borrow it, right? Okay, this is how it happened. Earlier today, there was a large group of us. We were traveling from Bethany to Jerusalem. We stopped just outside the city. And Jesus looked at two of us and he said there was an unridden donkey just inside the village and asked us to go get it. He said if anybody ask us about it, we could just look at him and say, the Lord needs it, and he'll send it back. So the two of us beat it into town, and the whole time we were like, what is Jesus going to do with a donkey, right? But by this point, we realized you don't second guess Jesus, right? He hadn't told us why, and we didn't ask. We just got him a donkey. And when we got back, that's when it happened. Some people put their coats on the donkey, and Jesus got on the donkey. And when he got on the donkey, it's like everyone started shouting and dancing and singing, and some people were throwing their coats in front of the donkey. There was some of us that grabbed some palm branches and we started waving them in the air. And that's when it clicked. Jesus had finally arrived. And I know that sounds weird. No, it's like this. In the past, we would get excited because Jesus would do something, a miracle, or there would be some miracle or something he said, we'd get excited about it. And Jesus would always be like, shh, come on guys, no, just be quiet, And then we'd come up with some idea, hey, let's do this or let's do that. And Jesus would be like, no guys, no, not now, not now. But today was now. Today, he finally let us shout and sing and dance and treat him like the Messiah that we'd all been waiting for. He finally showed up. I don't know there, there's nothing better than when Jesus shows up.
This is what Jesus does. He does the unexpected thing. He shapes the world around him in ways that, maybe we struggle with trying to understand why, but, we learn to say, oh, okay, well, maybe this is, maybe we learn on occasion to not second guess him and to see what it is we should be doing. And this is, as we've been going over the last several weeks, we've been talking about out of the book of Leviticus and out of Isaiah, talking about what sacrifice means and how for so long, we get that wrong, because our expectation of what sacrifice means is that we've got to make a payment, or we've got to have some form of restitution, that if something happens, then we've got to make something that equals that thing that has happened to get all this stuff figured out and to make sure that it all works out right, or we say, well, we want this other thing to happen, this good thing to happen, so we have to make a sacrifice or a payment or give something of appropriate value so that that good thing will happen. If that's all that it was about, then Jesus would have been a very far, far different Savior than he is. We would be telling a very different story today. Because there is no amount of sacrifice that we can make that will fix things. Instead, Jesus shows us the true meaning of what sacrifice is. And we see that meaning come in the joy of the crowd as he rode into Jerusalem. We see it in the love that he has for his disciples when maybe they didn't completely understand what was going on, but they listened and they followed and they wanted to share what was taking place and to do Jesus' work that they set in front of them, even if they did it badly at times. We see it there. We see it in the way, most especially, that Jesus takes us into his life. Not because we've earned it. Not because he wants to shield us from God's divine judgment, but because he loves us. And none of this was expected. None of this went the way things folks expected it to happen. We're at the start now of Holy Week. That's final week building up to Easter morning. And go this week and look for the unexpected things. I started off this morning talking about how sometimes we are defined more by the unexpected things than we are the things that we expect. We're defined more by sometimes the things that come out of left field than we are anything else. Go out into this holiest of weeks. Look out to left field and see what might be coming next. Whether it is, help in a time that, maybe we're struggling with, whether it is, just to know that maybe something that's happened before is coming and we need to be ready and prepared for it, or even maybe it just is that when we look out that direction, we find a new way of celebrating and taking joy and happiness in the things around us. Sometimes that is just as, if not more important, that we see that than the other things. That we can see even joy and celebration can come out of left field. Go this week. Let the unexpected Messiah in Jesus Christ define you and your family and the life that you live on your own, but also as a part of a community. Go and do this. Live a life that sees the unexpected, that sees Christ where he is and not necessarily where we expect him to be. Go and do this work. Share it with those around you and do it in Christ's name.